you're not starting. You didn't start.
Yes, I yet. Okay, now we are starting. Okay, everybody, good morning. As we try to connect to Chassidut, the holiness of Torah, and to start our week off in the concept of spirituality, trying to connect to something that is godly. As we leave the Shabbos, we left the Shabbos and we go into the week, which is a struggling time for everybody. Well, Shabbos, Ba Menucha, the day of Shabbos comes, the day of tranquility officially comes. You can sit and eat some cholent and enjoy life and enjoy Shabbos. Comes the weekday, comes struggles to the world. Struggles to the heart, struggles to the mind. Alavai, we can live in a world that's fully Shabbos. We can live in a world that's totally Shabbos, that's completely Shabbos, totally the concept of Shabbos, tranquility and menucha and happiness in our life. But that's not the way the Eibishter created the world. That's not the way God created the world. Sheishis Yamim Tavid. The verse says 6 days a week you shall work. That the Chassidus explains the work does not mean only physical work, which you should work physical work too, but work means spiritual work. It takes Avodah, takes the concept of service in the world, service in the mundane, and to ultimately transform the mundane into something purposeful, which touches our Avodah, to transform mundaneness into something that is godly, something that has purpose, and something that has a everlasting experience. We're looking for a concept to bring nitzchias, to bring something to create it. It shouldn't be a moment. Everything today, we're into the world of throwaways, easy come, easy go. We should live in a world that has something that's stable, and it's that we can live with for many, many years, forever. Ultimately, that's the aspect of a mitzvah. So even when we take a physical thing that doesn't last forever, as we all know, some of them don't last very, very long. But if we use it out for something purposeful, we use it out for something spiritual, we have the capability of maybe transforming this physical thing into something that will be there for a longer period of time. And that's the concept of mitzvahs, and the aspect of good deeds. And ultimately, now that Alter Rebbe is explained now, is the aspect of Ava and Yira. Intellect comes and goes. We think one way today, we think something else tomorrow. When we affect somebody through Ava, when we affect somebody through love, is something that will last forever, right? When I touch you in love, or the opposite, the other way, I touch you in a gevuridik way, it's something that will last for a longer period of time than for a short burst. And that's why Chassidus explains we need the concept of Ava and Yira. We need the aspect of love and fear. Why couldn't we live in a world of intellect, in a world of total intellectual world, and we'll be able to fly in the worlds of intellect? No, because we want to bring it down into a reality. We want to bring it down, into, as I said before, into something that creates it as an entity in this world that will endure. And that is when I can bring my Ava and Yira into the picture. When I don't live for myself, but I live for somebody else. When I can uplift somebody else. When I can bring joy to somebody else, when I can bring happiness to another person, when I can, whether it's act of charity or a good word or a relationship, then I have brought the concept of the brain into a physical, unlimited reality. Because Chassidus again explains that ultimately the physical makes it unlimited. This world will last forever. Tov, Shem Tov, Mishem and Tov. That's what King Solomon said. Better a good name than all the oils in the world. Because your name, if you're a good person, and you affect this world in a good way, your name is going to continue. And what's important, your name should continue. Not that you're looking for glory, but you're looking for the concept of goodness to continue. By a person mentioning your name, they'll say, oh, this is what a good person. Zeichet tzaddik levracha. To remember a tzaddik for bracha. Right? So we have a yontif, for example, Hey Tavis, today is a yontif b'chsidim. Today, the yontif will last. Something that happened many years ago, over 20 years ago. But nevertheless, the yontif continues, the good day, the Yom Segula continues. Because when something good happens in this world, it never ends. It continues, and we continue celebrating until forever. And that's what we just came from Sukkot, from the Hanukkah. Sukkot is still in my head in September 7th. So Hanukkah taught us that the yontif that the Jewish people brought light to the world will be a yontif that will last forever and ever and ever. It will never ever disappear. Why? Because a Jew brought something into this world. And when we bring something into this world and we do it with love, with true ava, it's going to last forever and ever. And that's what the Alter Rebbe is going to explain to us. The concept of why we need to have emotions, why it's not enough for us just to do things, but to do things with Avas Hashem and Yiras Hashem. So even though every one of us has an Ava Mesoteres, we have a hidden love, and that's why it pushes us to do what we're supposed to do. But it's not enough to hidden love. We have to bring out this Ava in the open. We have to serve God with Avas Hashem and awe of God. Because as the Alter Rebbe explains, this is the wings, so to say. The wings that make this mitzvah fly, that give this mitzvah eternity. And that's why it's important for us to have this concept in our life. Are you with me? Okay, let's go. Let's learn inside. I believe we're holding on page 70, 71. At the bottom of the page is the 70 in the English. We're holding in the middle of this chapter, beautiful chapter. And we're holding the column to the left. And if you have it at home, those that are on Zoom, page 70, 71 of your Tanya, we're in the middle of chapter 16. Consequently, when the Bainly ponders this subject in the recesses of his heart and mind, understanding, with a unanimity of his mouth and heart, in that he upholds by the word of his mouth that which he has been resolved in understanding of his heart and in mind, namely to direct his desire towards divine Torah, meditating on it day and night, in the oral study, while in his hands and his other bodily organs carry out the commandments in accordance with the resolution of his heart and mind's understanding. Then this understanding is enclosed in the act, speech, and thought of the Torah as its commandments, providing for them, as it were, intelligence, vitality, and wings, wherewith it soars on high. Same as if we practice them with real fear and love as revealed in his heart, with a desire and fervor, and a passion that is felt in his heart and his soul, thirsting for God by reasons of the glowing embers of love in his heart, as mentioned above. In so much as this understanding in his brain and his heart's recesses, that is instrumental in leading him to engage in them, and he has not yet dwelled in them. He does not have occupied himself with them at all, but with physical needs alone. And even if he is naturally disposed to be a studious student, nevertheless, he would naturally love his body more. And therefore, the inner aspect of love is not enough. We need to bring it out into the open Avas Hashem. We need to love the Eibishter. We need to do a mitzvah with Ava. We need to do a mitzvah not with the recesses of our heart. We need to bring out love in the open. We need to express it. We need to say it. Just like in the physical world, we need to say it. We need to say that we love people. We need to show that we love people. We need to show we love HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How do we show we love God? I stop fetching so much. And I'm not looking at you. Stop fetching so much. Stop complaining. But actually having a true avat, actually having a true love in what you're doing. Can you create a concept of love to a mitzvah? Or are you just doing it because you think you have to do it, somebody's threatening you to do it, you made a commitment to do it?
That's okay too.
It's okay, but we're looking for something more than that. I'm looking for this mitzvah to fly. We want this mitzvah to express itself. We're not just looking for a dead body that is there. Is there a body there? Yes. I'm looking for a living body. I'm not looking for something that is dead. I'm looking for a living concept. How do I show something is living? You know, when the Mishnah, when the Gemara says that Yaakov Avinu loy meis, Yaakov Avinu didn't die. Mazara b'chayim, afu b'chayim. The Gemara says if his children are alive, he's alive. What does the Gemara mean? His children are alive. What? They're just alive, living beings. That makes him alive. No, it means if the children are living in the spirit of their father, then he's alive. If they're living two different lives. If Yaakov is living A and they're living B, then they're not. You don't see Yaakov is alive. When do you see that a father is alive? If the children is living in the spirit of their father, they're living in the chayas, in the excitement of their father, whatever their father was excited about. Yaakov Avinu, self-understood, was a Jew who was excited in godliness. He was a merkava. He was a chariot of God. He was committed to godliness. Self-understood, when he saw his children were alive, living a godly life, he was alive. So that's what it means. When do you see that the Eibush is alive in you? When we're alive. When we're excited. When we're there, not only there in body, physical body, we're there in soul. We have an neshama, we have a burning fire. So the Rebbe explains, Alter Rebbe comes and he explains something very interesting. Our sages of blessed memory hinted at this when they said, the Holy One, blessed be He, unites a good thought to a deed. Machshava teva Kadosh Baruch Hu mitzaref la'maaseh. It's a very interesting thing. We usually explain that a good thought is like I did the good deed. But that's not true, the Alter Rebbe says, because you thought if you didn't do the good deed, then thought has nothing. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. That's expression. That's on the Dal Tanya. That's an English expression. Yeah, thought is cheap. Talk is cheap. We need action. So what is the meaning of the sage who says, one, the Holy One, blessed be He, unites a good thought to a good deed. One would have expected them to say that the Torah regards good thought as it's put into practice. That's what if that's what the Mishnah meant, if that's what the statement means, that a good thought is an action, then he should have said that. And the Mishnah should have said that thinking Torah is like you did a mitzvah, but it's not true. So what is the meaning that God unites a thought with an action? That means the Alter Rebbe is saying it means both. I have the thought and the action. I have the thought and the action. I have the thought to do a good deed, and I have the action. I did the action. The problem is, from the thought to the action, there's a big chasm. It's a big hole. There's a big separation between the thought and the action, because a person can have an unbelievable thought to do unbelievable good, and his action is going to be far from the thought that he did. So this, as the Alter Rebbe explains this expression. The explanation, however, is that it is the revealed fear and love in the heart that are clothed in the act of the commandment, giving them vitality to soar on high, in so much as the heart is also corporal, and the other parts of the body, which is the instrument of action, except it is internal, and their source of vitality. Therefore, it can clothed, it can clothe itself in their act to be their wings, elevating them. However, the above mentioned fear and love that are in the intelligence of the brain and the recess of his heart are infinitely higher order than the action. And they cannot clothe themselves in the performance of the commandments in becoming the intelligence and vitality, as it were, to lift them to soar upward. Were it not the fact that the Holy One, blessed be He, fuses and unites them together with the action. Hence, they are called a good thought, for they are not actual awe and love in a revealed state in the heart, but only in the intelligence of the brain and the recess of the heart, as mentioned above. So therefore, the Alter Rebbe says, you're right, ultimately, the Eibishter will connect the emotions to the action. That's a gift. That's, so to say, God promises. That's what the sages say. The sages say, the Eibishter says, I'll connect it. If you can't connect it, I'll connect it. So that's why the Alter Rebbe explains that when it says from the not right reason comes to the right reason, Alter Rebbe explains it, not that ultimately will come to the right reason, but actually in the not right reason is the right reason. Because ultimately, even though you think you're doing it for ulterior reasons, the truth is you're doing it because you have a love of God. So ultimately, if it wasn't for the love of God that God put into our souls, we would never do anything for the right reason. Unless we're a person that can awaken up this love. But most of us have no capability to connect, to touch the essence and reveal the soul who has true love. So therefore, the Alter Rebbe says, do your best. If you're waiting for an awakening of a true Ava in yourself, to have this trust, maybe you'll never reach up to this true Ava Hashem. Maybe you'll never reach up to the true love of God. But a person should nevertheless not think that since I don't have this true love, it means that it's not connected really with the action. So the Eibush says, no, I'll connect it to the action. I'll bring it together, the act and the Ava.
I'm not sure I know what that means. Sounds good, but I'm not sure I know what that means on a practical, put it into action way.
The Rebbe would always say, get a Jew to do a mitzvah. Even though when he does the mitzvah, he thinks he's doing it because you're asking him to do the mitzvah. Or maybe you're trying to press him to do the mitzvah. But really, the truth is, he's doing a mitzvah because he's a Yid. We do mitzvahs really because we're a Yid. We're Jews. And we have a neshama. That's the real reason why we are drawn to mitzvahs. Whether we comprehend it or not, we are drawn to godliness naturally. It's in our DNA. We are drawn to godliness. And that's the beauty of a Yid. And that's his essence. He cannot run away from it. And therefore, a Jew, whether he does the mitzvah for the right reason or he does the mitzvah because for all other ulterior reasons, ultimately, the Alter Rebbe is telling him that the Torah is telling him that you're doing it for the right reason. So therefore, ultimately, every Jew, it says, as the Gemara says, every Jew should be, when a Jew walks into the room, really, you should stand up for him. Why? Because he does mitzvahs. He does good deeds. Every Jew does good deeds. But you might say, what is the meaning of this Jew? He does the good deeds. He has ulterior. He doesn't know what he's doing. He has no understanding of the mitzvahs he's doing. He's not doing it because he loves God or fear God. He's doing it because of what he thinks in his own mind that it's right. Or he thinks in his own mind that it's a wonderful thing. But a Jew should realize, nevertheless, he's doing it for the real reason. He's doing it for the real reason. You have actually in Al Nissim, it's interesting. You said Al Nissim the last couple of days. It says, you see, the Al Nissim is divided into two different. Al Nissim is what we said for Hanukkah. So we say in that prayer, we say the strong ones in the hands of the many in the hands of the small, and the strong in the hands of the weak. And then we say the wicked in the hands of the righteous, the impure in the hands of the pure. It's two different things. I mean, wouldn't you say the wicked goes in the hands of the pure? I mean, the strong in the hands of the weak. That's an unbelievable thing. The many in the hands of the few. That's a miracle. What's the meaning of the wicked in the hands of the pure, of the righteous, or the pure, the impure in the hands of the pure? Isn't that automatic? Shouldn't automatically? What kind of ness is that? What kind of miracle is that? What kind of miracle is you have that the pure overpower the impure, or the holy people ultimately, the evil people ultimately go into the hands of the righteous people? What's the miracle? What is it? It's two different things. It doesn't jive. But the answer is that the truth is that the Torah is talking about the prayer is talking about two different concepts. There's an outer war. That time physically there was an outer war between the Jews and the Greeks. The minority fighting a majority. There was a physical war that there was a minority of people that were fighting a majority of people, and there's a miracle that they won the war. And then there was an inner war. There was a spiritual war. There was a spiritual war between what is holy and unholy, what is pure and impure. And you would think naturally the pure should overpower the impure. The holy should overpower the unholiness, but that's not the way the Eibishter ultimately put in the natural world. That also is a miracle. That also is a ness. That also is a ness. That our nitzas haneshama, our spark of our soul, can overpower this physical body is a miraculous concept. Is not so simple. Even though one is impure, one is pure, one is holy and one is unholy, that's also a miraculous thing. You should not take that concept simple. So the truth is that we are holy people. Every person is a holy person, is created by God's image, especially a Jew, has a nefesh of the kiss, has a godly soul. Seemingly, it should be something easy. You're talking about holiness against unholiness. You're talking about purity against impurity. Nevertheless, the way the Eibishter created this reality, this holiness is so hidden. It's so hidden that the unholiness seemingly is impossible for this holiness to overcome this unholiness. And therefore we have to know it's a nest. Therefore we have to realize every day is a miracle. Every day, that's what we say, every day, every day I thank the Eibishter for the miracle that my neshama is godly and can overcome ungodliness. If I don't believe in that miracle, then it'll be very hard for us to overcome our unholiness, our mundaneness, our physical reality to our spiritual reality.
You're talking about the animalistic soul?
Yeah, and the godly soul. So it'll be not realistic. You would say it would be impossible. Forget about what's happening in the world. What's happening within me is impossible. So that's why the Eibishter promises you. That's why we need the God's promise to us that if you go out and try at least to create an Ava, the Eibush will connect everything else. And that's a miraculous yad temei and behat te'edim. The Eibush, the God, will take the impurity and let the purity overpower it. That's a gift. That's a gift by the Eibush. It's not something that maybe I can realistically say I can accomplish in a realistic manner, unless I have that capability to create a true burning fire within me and overcome all aspects of the big fire that's on the other side of it. Because the other side is a big fire, and I'm coming with a small fire. That's why we say Havdalah. When we do Havdalah, we use a big fire. Right? It's interesting that we see that there's many fires. The Hanukkah Menorah is one little candle, but the Havdalah is many wicks together. Right? They have these Havdalah candles. They have 10, 15 wicks together. It's almost like a Bohemian party.
Does it have to be more than one? Is that
No, at least two. It has to be more than one. It needs to be two. It needs to be two. It needs to be two. So ultimately, why? Because it's going into the week. It says when the Adam Rishon was chased out of Gan Eden, which happened on Saturday night, and he was chased out of the Garden of Eden, and God put a sword there, but he was chased out of the Garden of Eden. And now, how do you challenge the darkness of the world, darkness of the other side of Gan Eden, right? So the Eibush said, "I'm going to give you a fire, teach you the concept of a fire, to create a fire, not just a candle, but to create that this candle should become 2 candles, 3 candles, 4 candles, 5 candles. The more you can create fire in this world, the more that you can light up other candles, the more you'll be able to overcome the darkness of the world. But you have to light another candle. You have to light another. You have to take that small candle, light another candle. Whether it's another candle, another person, or yourself, you have to light within yourself another candle. You have to continue on lighting candles. That's what it says. It's brought down that Shammai says you'll start with 8 candles. See, this is what's the difference between Shammai Basila says you start with a candle. Shammai says you really start with 8 candles. Right? You'll have a bigger, right? When you start with 8 candles, your Menorah, now you have a statement. You start with one little candle. What's the statement? It's a little statement. Beis Hillel says, that's why today in Galus we do like Beis Hillel. We start with 1 candle. When Mashiach comes, it says we're going to do like Beis Shammai. We're going to start with 8 candles. Why? Because Shammai says start with 8 candles. Start with the complete power. Beis Hillel says we're in Galus. We can't start with. We don't have the complete power.
Do 8 candles for 8 days.
No, Beis Hillel says you go 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, because it's 8 days. We're either doing a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So Beis Hillel says light 1 candle. Well, what's 1 candle? What's 1 candle? What is this little candle? Yeah, Beis Hillel says, you know what? This 1 candle in this gullus is powerful. Shammai says, no, we start with 8 candles. We should come with the whole power of Hanukkah. Start off with the whole power. Show the strength of the mitzvah. But we don't have the capability right now to show the strength of them. Now we have to grow. We have to build. We have to light 1 candle a day. Mashiach comes, we'll be able to come with the whole power right away. We'll start off with 8 candles because there won't be anything that is struggling against us. So we'll start off with 8 candles. But today we're struggling. We start off with 1 candle.
Are you saying that one thing I still don't understand is why is it a miracle that the Holy Soul overpowers the animalistic soul? It seems like
it's a miracle because our animalistic soul is very strong.
And is
Uh,
that godliness is hidden also?
Correct, because it's hidden. Correct.
Our animalistic soul is stronger than our godly soul.
Sure it is.
Imagine that.
It is 100% stronger. The proof is that's the proof. The proof is that I have that my animalistic soul, my desires for the world, and the negative, my fear of the world is stronger than my desires to God and my fear of God. That's the reality. So I have anxieties because of God. I have anxieties because of the world. I have fear because of God. I have fear because of the world. What's happening in the world? Really, a Jew should. What does he fear? Al-Tira. Torah tells him, don't have any fear. Don't have any anxieties to the world. Nobody should fear the world. Nobody should care what's happening in the world. The world is irrelevant to what's happening in my spiritual life. But it's not that way. So it's not that way. Unless I'm not talking to you. I'm a regular person. I'm not such a holy person. So therefore, the world occupies a place by me. And the fear of the world and anxieties of the world and everything that's happening around me affects me in a very personal way. Very personal way. The question is, does spirituality affect me in a personal way? Not doing a mitzvah a day. If I wouldn't do a mitzvah, how would I look on not doing a mitzvah, a good deed a day? Would I feel like I hadn't eaten in that day? Would I feel like I've missed something, somebody in a physical? Would it be the same kind of a thing? Would it be the same kind of a feeling? Alavai, we can reach up to that level. We're in darkness. We're in Gullus. And the Gullus affects the Jew. The exile affected the Jewish people. Affected Jewish people. And therefore, that's why we light the Menorah, to tell us that we shouldn't give up, even on a small candle. We shouldn't give up on a small candle every day. Every day, try to express yourself in another candle. Is it going to be perfect? No. Therefore, the Mishnah tells us, Achshava Teva, if you have the right thought, even though in the action, the thought to the action is going to be a vast difference. So you might have good thoughts, and you might have ultimately you think about godliness, but ultimately the action is done more in a physical way and more lack of emotions of the heart, true Ava and Yira. Nevertheless, the Eibishter will connect. God will connect. God will bring together these two concepts. But the truth is, ultimately, we need to try to wake it up our lava. That's what we need to do. Well, I don't want God to make my connections. I want to make my own connections. I want to make my own feeling of love of God and fear of God. I want to create my own Avas Hashem, my own true love of God. That I love the Eibishter. I love this mitzvah. I love doing what's right. I love it. Pashut, I have an Ava, like I love to eat, like I love to drink, like I love to enjoy life. I have Pashut and Ava, enjoy my Yiddishkeit. Enjoy my spiritual side of my existence. Now, why would the Eibishter want to do that? Why does the Mishnah say that God brings about this connection? What's the need? If I ultimately don't feel it, so why is the need to bring this connection? So the Eibishter does it on a spiritual realm. What about what does that do with me? So it's God's action. Thank God that the Eibishter brings together. God brings together, so to say, this thought and this action together. And that's out to Rebbe's space. But the Holy One, blessed be He, produces this this connection in order to elevate the performance of the commandments and the Torah, which are carried out under the influence of the said good thought, to the world of Bria, the abode in which ascends Torah and commandments that are performed through the intelligence of all law, which is revealed in your heart. So the Alter Rebbe will explain this later, actually, in depth, that that everything that happens in this world is connected to the upper world. So Torah is connected to the world of creation. Emotions, Ava, is connected to the world of formation. And the Eibishter wanted to have a full circle. A full circle. that the upper worlds would connect to the lower worlds. The lower worlds will be uplifted through the elevation of the lower worlds. And that happens, that's what the Eibishter ultimately accomplishes. So when you have the concept of Dira B'Tachtenim, the Eibishter says, I want to have a dwelling place in this world. That's really why you should do a mitzvah. Not only because of Avas Hashem and Yiras Hashem, not only because you should have Ava in the Eibishter, you should have Yira in the Eibishter, in God. You should want to accomplish God's mission in this world. There's a godly mission in this world, and that is to make this world a dwelling place for God. So really, the truth is, it's better in a way when we do this mitzvah, and we leave it up to God to make this connection. Because then it's a true Dira B'Tachtenim. Then it's a true, you created a true dwelling place for God in this world.
When you say this mitzvah, which one?
The mitzvah I've done, because I am not any mitzvah you've done. Not because you have your true Ava, but you say, I don't have the true Ava. I don't feel the Ava. I'm doing it because God wants me to do it. And that's why I'm doing it.
The whole thing is a mirror image of fake it till you make it.
Correct.
Once you start doing
But actually faking it is making it.
But once you start to do it, you'll realize the value.
Here the point is the opposite. Here the point is that the faking it might be making it. Yeah. No, because when you fake something, maybe then is when the real thing comes out. When you're not faking it, then you're doing it because you think yourself such Avos Hashem and Yiras Hashem. When you're faking it, maybe sometimes that's when real things happen. The Rebbe says, the Alter Rebbe says, you find that shidduchim. How does a shidduch happen between two souls? Usually, it's a fake. Everybody's acting not real. Nobody's acting real. Everybody, the guy is always cordial. The girl is always smiling, and everybody is in the top performance. And everybody, it's like a not a real world. They're faking it. And the truth is, especially if shidduchim go in a religious community, you don't live with each other until after you get married, right? Meanwhile, you went out with each other, was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That doesn't make a difference how many times. Do you really know each other? You both are putting on a show. Real life is different than this show. But you know what happens when you're in the show? You know what happens in that show? Two souls are coming together. Two neshamas are coming together in this show. In this seemingly fake reality, that's why you have a situation, when they say 100% of divorce comes from marriage, but a lot of people are getting divorced because even in the world at large, until they get married, it's like it's like a game. When they get married, now it's real stuff. Now they realize they can't live together. I met people that have lived together for 10 years, and then they get married. And a year later, they got divorced. What happened? You were living together for 10 years. Why suddenly, I understand you didn't live together 10 years. You're living together 10 years. What happened suddenly? We got married. Suddenly, things started to bother me. Right? Suddenly, things started. What do you mean? You've been living together 10 years. Why things haven't bothered you in 10 years? There's a certain thing when people come to realize that this is what real life's about, then suddenly things bother people. Then things bother people. But the truth is that if we understand that coming together is not only that we understand each other, and it has to be in the Siyas Chaim that we are falling in love, so to say, with one another, but there's a godly purpose. There's a Eibishter bringing Bashet. The Eibishter is bringing things together. God is bringing things together. God is doing His work. You see the beauty. You see the beauty in the story, in the Parshas. Story of Joseph and his brothers. I mean, you see the work of the Eibishter in this whole story. Now we're Monday morning quarterbacks. We know we've learned the story already 100 times. But you just can imagine at the story when it's happening, right? And all this situation is going, all this drama that's going on over there. It's all this whole drama, what's going on there, is all for one concept. It's all one concept that's happening. It's going to happen in this week's Parsha. It's all this one concept, how to bring Jacob down to Egypt. How to start Galus Mitzrayim. How do we bring about in a natural phenomena? Because we know the Gemara says if it didn't go this way, it would have gone a different way. It would have gone. Jacob would have had to come down in chains to Egypt. It was apt to happen. It had to happen that Jacob was going to come down to Egypt. That was destiny. That was divine. That was the Abish. The Abish said the Jewish people are going to be in slavery in Egypt. It's going to happen. It was going to happen either through this drama. Right, Joseph fighting with his brothers, and they're going to kill this whole drama, which every part of this drama has within it such unbelievable things, unbelievable medrashim, unbelievable teachings, unbelievable realities that's happening lamaila in the spiritual world. Learn Chassidus on it, learn the Zohar. It's unbelievable the workings of God that takes 22 years. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a 22-year process. This whole situation, right? That's actually longer than 22 years because Joseph is already 17 years old when
working with Potiphar?
it was there for a year with Potiphar, not long. How long was he with Potiphar? It was not long. It was not long with Potiphar. He was thrown in prison. He was in prison for 10 years and then another 2 years. It was 22 years that took that's this week's Parsha that ultimately Jacob comes down to Egypt. It's 22 years later. But it starts long before that. It starts with him and talking with his struggling with his brothers. But all this struggle with his brothers, now we can see why and what happened that ultimately brought Joseph down to Egypt, him becoming the vice king of Egypt, and ultimately bringing down his brothers and his father to Mitzrayim, and starting off Galus Mitzrayim, and how Galus Mitzrayim, exile of Egypt, all started off through this story. Not through a different kind of a way, but dafka through this story, the story of it. So we see, ultimately, we can see the Yad Hashem in everything that happens, that nothing happens just by chance. And Yosef is the one that says it in this week's Parsha. Yosef once says it, that you did not sell me to Egypt. I was sent to Egypt. I was sent to Egypt. The Abish just sent me to Mitzrayim, right? You can think you sold me to Mitzrayim. You did nothing. You were just the shliach. You were just the messenger of God who brought about this whole concept of me coming down to Egypt. I was sent to Egypt. The Rebbe says it's an important thing. You should have the difference of a word, and you should take Joseph's word in everything in life. The Abish just sent you to this place. God sent you to this situation. You are sent. You're a messenger. You're going to either be a messenger of good or a messenger of the opposite. That's your choice. But you're a messenger to God that brought you down to this situation. I don't want to be a messenger. I'm not interested in being a messenger. Right? You might say, I don't want to be this messenger. But Yosef the Tzaddik says, whatever the Abisha says, that's where I'm going to go. Where if God sends me into a ditch, I'll go to a ditch. If God sends me into slavery, I'll go to slavery. Well, hineni, that's it. Why? Because I'm a messenger. Because I'm a shliach. I'm a shliach. And if I'm a shliach, then my mission is more important than who or what's happening in this journey. So here, in truth is, if I can feel like a messenger, like a shliach, that I am a shliach, so you're right, I'm not feeling it right now. I don't feel it. How should I feel it? I don't feel this love. I don't feel, but does that change the message? Does that change my job? Do I suddenly don't have a job anymore? Ultimately, Moshe Rabbeinu had to learn that concept. Moshe Rabbeinu was an intellectual person, had to learn the concept of that there's a mission. There's a mission. Not everything is what you feel or you don't feel or what you understand, you don't understand. You're on a mission. If you're on a mission, then what's the difference if right now I feel it or right now I don't feel it? You have to stick to your mission. You have to stick to your mission. And as Jews and as humans, we are here on a mission. What were we born for? We were born for a mission, to accomplish something in this world, to do something in the way it is, in what I am in whatever situation I'm in. Then that's part of the mission. That's part of the mission, whatever situation it is, whether you're healthy or unhealthy, poor or poor, rich or happy or unhappy. The mission needs to stay on focus. The mission doesn't change. The mission doesn't change. Reality doesn't change any mission. Actually makes the mission more important. Makes the mission, accentuates the mission.
What if you have a mission? I mean, what if you have a mitzvah that really, like, there's a lot of mitzvahs I know I really love to do, and some of them really hard, and it hasn't gotten better over many years. But I do it because the Shem tells me I should do it. And
That's good.
That's good.
That's the mission.
But then what? But then you would think at some point you would be happier about it.
Why?
You know?
The mission is a mission. The mission is the mission. You love Dafka have to feel good about a guy who goes out to war is happy what he's doing. No, he has a mission. He's not afraid. Sure, he's afraid. He has a mission. It's the mission. You want to get out of this war. You want to leave the war. Who wants to be in a war? But you have a mission. You got a mission. Not everything. Actually, the Alter Rebbe say that might be what you struggle with might be your real mission. Not what you're happy with. Because the truth is, what you struggle with is what may be what your neshama came down into the world for. So what you're happy with, self-understood, you're happy with. You enjoy doing it. You're gaining something out of it. So there's a gain, there's a personal gain maybe in it. Because I'm not so pure, I'm doing it for the sake of heaven. I'm doing it also my gain. I feel some kind of satisfaction, physical satisfaction. I can feel physical satisfaction from it. Really, what do you mean? You're getting physical. The Eibishter God was angry that David HaMelech called the Torah a zemira, a song. I mean, what's so terrible? Right? There's a beautiful mime of the Rebbe on it. That Niim Zemiras Yisrael. That the David HaMelech said that the Torah is a song. Song to him. David HaMelech loved songs. He loved music. He wanted to express himself how beauty the Torah is, that it's like a song to him. What's so terrible? So the Alter Rebbe explains, he says in a Maimon, because David HaMelech, he should have gone a little deeper. He should have realized that the Torah is not a song. The Torah is a God song. It's God's song. So the truth is, to most of us, the Torah is not a song. To most of us, Torah is not a song. The Torah is a book of laws, maybe a book of restrictions. Torah is a book of... But the truth is, in essence, that is the Torah. So even though ultimately you should look at the Torah as a song, but maybe in the essence, we should look at the Torah, it's a command by God, it's a mission. So really, we can play with both ends of the story, so to say. I'm telling you, the Eibishter gave you plan A and plan B. They're both plans in the story. You have the story of Petifa's wife. We don't know her name. Right? We don't know her name. Right? Rashi says she's a special woman. Right? What was so special about it? She wanted a relationship with Joseph. Now that sounds like a little bit she wanted a relationship with Joseph. Some people might say, oh, he was a handsome guy. She wanted a relationship with a handsome guy. Why not? And she was married. How is it possible for this woman to? Rashi says she meant to l'shem shamayim.
Because she knew that the daughter,
Because she had this. She didn't know it was gonna be daughter. She had this desire to have a relationship that would she be part of the Jewish nation. She meant to l'shem shamayim. If you can imagine such a situation. That she meant to l'shem shamayim. Tamar, the story of Yehuda and Tamar was also l'shem shamayim. She had a true desire of this relationship, this concept of this relationship.
Was Potiphar, I mean, She meant it was Shem Shemayim, but did anything ever come of that?
Sure, her daughter married Yosef. So it did come out something positive.
Adopted daughter, right?
Whatever, the simple meaning is a daughter. That's a medrash says an adopted daughter. Dina's daughter, whatever. But the simple Rashi doesn't say that. Shut Shemikra was Petifa's daughter, was his daughter. It was Asnat. Asa, but the pasuk says Asnat bas Petifa. So the pasuk says it was his daughter. Medrash says it was his adopted daughter, but that's not the simple pasuk, and Rashi doesn't bring it down because the simple pasuk is it was his daughter, it was her daughter.
I thought
And
he castrated himself.
Rashi says that openly that it was her daughter. So I don't know. There's a medrash says it was Dina's daughter, but that's not Pshut Shamikra.
Rabbi, first of all, is it in the text that he actually, when Yosef was no longer available to him, he castrated himself? So how could he have had another child?
Right. So it's a good question, and that's not a problem in Derech HaTeva. He didn't have any desire for her, but he had a child with her. So it doesn't change the fact that it could have been that they had a child together, even though he was a homosexual. So Potiphar, Rashi says, Rashi said Potiphar himself wanted Yosef. He was a homosexual. He wanted the relationship with Joseph. And that's what angered him. Actually what angered him that he would want a relationship with his wife and not a relationship with him. So but then Rashi says that he was having relations. See, it's very tricky. Rashi says also that he was having that his wife said to him, "What you're doing right now is what the servant wanted to do with me." That means he was heterosexual. What it called? He had both things. He wanted both. He was bisexual, so he wanted both relationships. But the simple verse in the Torah is that it was his daughter. What?
But Rabbi, one other thing. When we talk about doing the mission, as this gal in the class said, that she's living her mission, but her attitude towards it is it's a negative attitude, but she's happy to do it because she's doing what the Eibishter wants. Can we not get our animal soul and divine soul together in the mission and think positive and change our attitude to what we're doing? Because what you're saying is just do it, even though it's hard for you. It's your mission. Yes, it is, but our attitude can change and be happy.
So, I agree
and
with
positive.
You. I'm not arguing with you. The best thing would be the ultimate way to do something is that we can change our attitude. That we can change our attitude and we can have a positive attitude. So our nefesh alakis and nefesh bahamis come in unison together. That will be the ultimate, if we can do that. But that is ultimately the ultimate of my journey. There's two journeys over here. There's a journey of my journey, what I am supposed to change myself, ultimately to that my nefesh alakis has the capability of transformation of my nefesh bahamis. Maybe not transformation, subjugation, to control my nefesh bahamis. That my animalistic soul should also have a desire for mitzvahs. That's an unbelievable thing if I can acquire that, if I can accomplish that. And we should all do that. The Alter Rebbe, all debate, and he needs to do that. Everybody needs to start thinking different. You need to have a paradigm, a shift in thought. A human being came to the world to push it, think different. Then there's the avoid of the Eibishter, what the Eibishter came to the world. The Eibishter wants in the creation of the world. Did a bit and to transform this world, to bring down godliness to the world. And that aspect needs to be done even if I do have a shift or I don't have a shift.
Right.
If I accomplish this aspect of changing my attitude, or even if I don't. And the truth is that, again, if I change my shift and I start thinking different, it also could be chas v'shalom, since I'm not a tzaddik, I'm still a halavai beinoni. I wish I could be a middleman. So it still could be tainted with something that is totally, maybe it's a little selfish, that I've changed my thought because I want to feel good. Why wouldn't anybody want to feel good? Why wouldn't people want to feel good? The truth is, everybody should change their nefesh bahamis because you're going to feel better. You're simply going to feel good. And why wouldn't people, why your nefesh bahamis wants to feel good? What do you think? A nefesh Bahamas wants to have anxieties and have misery and be unhappy and be unsatisfied? No, your nefesh Bahamas wants satisfaction. That's what it's made for. It's made for this concept of satisfaction, but it believes that dissatisfaction in your life is giving you some kind of satisfaction for whatever reason. It's some kind of concept that is giving you dissatisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what the Alter Rebbe says, that really, I'm not talking a clinical depression, but people that have spiritual depression could be your nefesh Bahamas. It doesn't mean your nefesh Elokis. It's your nefesh Bahamas is getting some satisfaction as being a victim. We get some satisfaction as being the victim for some reason, and not being the victor. Yaakov Avinu was getting some satisfaction from being the victim. He was Yaakov Avinu for many, many years. He was getting the satisfaction, running away. That's the way he got his satisfaction. That's the way he got his avodah. The Eibush said to him, enough is enough. You got to stop getting satisfaction from being the Yaakov, from the one who's holding on to the hill. It's time to get the satisfaction from being a Sadalakim, from being the minister of God. It's time to get satisfaction from spirituality, not that the way your physical is struggling. That's your satisfaction. That's your victory. It's time to get victory of the positive, which is very difficult. It's not an easy thing. A lot of times we find ourselves more getting victory of the negative. That we are negative. Oh, look what's bad. We're the victim. We're the ones who's being troubled. We're the one who's being struggled. We're the one. Why did God pick on me? Why couldn't He pick on somebody else? Etc. We try to create that center of attention on ourselves, which is also an Aveda, which is truly, Alter Rebbe will say, it is the ultimate Aveda. That shows in the greatness of your neshama. If you can have these struggles, shows that the Eibishter trusts me, that I can overcome these struggles in life. And therefore, I shouldn't run away from them. I should overcome these struggles. But ultimately, maybe if I would just do things, even in the struggle, if I'm going to, even in my struggles that I am in, and I have a nefesh Bahamas that tells me, no, I don't want to do this. I have no interest in this. I am actually uncomfortable with this. Nevertheless, I'm doing it because the Eibishter wants me to do it. That's the real reason. The real reason is not because of my struggles or not my struggles. It's not because my victories or not my victories. The victory is God's victory. And that's the miracle of, like I said before, of putting the impure in the hands of pure is God's victory. And the Eibishter takes impure, and that's why we say, what's the ultimate Mashiach? That the Eibishter is going to get rid of impurity. I'm going to get rid of impurity. It's God's victory. I'm here for the victory of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That is what I'm here for. Have I been victorious? No, I'm still in my struggles. I haven't got out of my struggles yet. But the Eibishter was victorious. Beautiful. God was victorious. Mm-hmm. He took the wicked, he put in the hand of the righteous. Is that? No, there's a lot of wicked here going on over here. It's the Eibishter's victory. It's God's victory. And that is alone, that is a victory. That is a concept. That alone should be, for a Jew, a concept. The Rebbe would always say, we should want Mashiach to come because the Eibishter is in Golus. Because God's in Golus. He might be having a beautiful Golus. I don't know today, but in general, you're having a beautiful Golus. But the Eibishter is in Golus. God's in Golus. And as long as God's in Golus, then it's an unhappy situation. Then I'm unhappy because God's unhappy. Not because I'm unhappy, I might be happy. I might be satisfied. But God's unhappy. Can I feel the feeling of God that God's unhappy? And that's what the Eibishter wanted ultimately. And that's the truth. Because that's the truth. Mashiach's not going to come until God is going to, so to say, bring Mashiach to the world. He's going to have to do it. So the Eibush is going to have to ultimately change this whole situation. So we need to bring about this concept to do it for the sake that the Eibush should feel. I need to come because we want him to come, not because I want him to come ABC. I want to come because God wants to come.
What was your father's original?
So I believe that I said a statement. I believe it's not a question. She said that forgot already, but no, she went on her statement that she said that she struggles, and I said actually the struggle could reveal. So she said, why can't the struggle ultimately be transformed? I believe the struggle could be transformed. It takes a lot of avodah, it takes a lot of service to transform one's struggle, and maybe we'll not transform the struggle. What happens if we don't transform the struggle? That's why the Mishnah says, you're not obligated to change them to finish the job. You see, that's the point. If you think about it, if it's only my job, that's the purpose I came down to the world for. So how does the Mishnah say How does the Mishnah say you know if you go to every funeral, you say he completed his job? How do you know? How do we know he completed the job? It's a nice statement. It's probably not true. Who knows if it's true or not? The Mishnah says, it's not in my statement. It's the Mishnah. The Mishnah, Pirkei Avos says, not on you the obligation to finish your job. So you don't have to finish a job, because the job might be a lifetime, and that's why they have to be, Adizah say, might have to be Gilgal and the Shamas. There have to be the Gilgal, the reincarnation of souls. We need to do God's job. We get so involved in our job that we forget God's job.
To transform.
To bring godliness to the world. That you can do. That you can finish the job. So you push off a mitzvah, you push off a thing, you think you don't. No, the Eibush says that when you do a mitzvah, you do God's job. You have done God's job. Doesn't make a difference how you did the mitzvah. You've done God's job. And that's what the meaning of the Mishnah is. If you're not going to do the mitzvah, then you'd have done nothing. If your unhappiness and your unsatisfaction is going to bring you not to do the mitzvah, then all your thoughts are nothing. Then all your thoughts of the mitzvah, all your learning of the mitzvah is nothing. But you didn't do the mitzvah, and the mitzvah is God's job. So now, when you do the mitzvah, even though your thoughts are not, and your thoughts in the mitzvah do not come together, because you didn't complete the job. So as the Alter Rebbe said in Tanya, to complete the job, you got to do it in all four levels. Shat, Remesh, Drus, Seid, you got to do it in all levels of this mitzvah, right? So even the mitzvah you do, you have to do it in all kinds of levels, spiritual levels. You're telling me that every mitzvah I've done in all levels of spirituality, in the simple meaning, in the Remez, in the Drush, in the Analytic, in the Sight? Maybe not. But I've done the mitzvah. I've brought down the Eibishter to the world. So the Eibishter says, if you do my job, I'll connect the rest. I'll bring it together. I'll bring it together. So what will happen? All the unity, what the spiritual aspects of what I wanted with this mitzvah is going to happen in the world, irrelevant to your machshava and your action. Because you did what the Eibishter wanted you to do. And that's the power, again, of a mitzvah. The Alter Rebbe in Tanya brings out in many different ways what's the power of learning Torah and of doing a mitzvah. Because to us, to a person like us, who struggles emotionally and intellectually, the most important thing is for us to do mitzvahs, to do more mitzvahs, to do more limud Torah, because that's really the struggle. That's really what my nefesh Bahamis, my animalistic soul, doesn't want me to do. Doesn't want me to do. And he's going to figure out all kinds of ways how he can distract me from doing what I'm supposed to do, what I'm really supposed to do in this world. And that is, I was sent down by a mission by God to make for God a dira b'tavteinu. Let's end this chapter But even without this, they still rise to the world of Yetzirah by the meaning of the natural fear and the love in which is latent in the hearts of all Jews for birth, as I'll explain later at length. So the Alter Rebbe will say, ultimately, since we have, the Eibishter gave you a godly soul, so as you learn in Kabbalah, the Zohar says, Ayraisa v'kuchabrichu v'Yisrael kulachad. There's one chain event. God, the Torah, and the Yid that connects this change, this constant chain of flow that brings about the whole purpose of creation. The Eibishter, the the Torah, and the Yid that does the Torah connects this flow, whether he understands it, whether he doesn't understand it, whether he comprehends it. He doesn't comprehend it if he understands that he's on a mission to connect this flow, to keep this flow going between God, the Torah, and the mitzvah, and back to God, Torah, and the mitzvah. You keep on this flow going. He'll understand that he should, as the Alter Rebbe is going to say, he should be the happiest. How happy I am that I can complete this mission of God's mission in the world, to continue to keep the flow of godliness coming down to the world, going back to God, coming down to the world, etc. This flow, this continuous flow of energy that continues to flow from HaKadosh Baruch Hu to the world and back up to its source, and so on and so forth. And that ends the 16th chapter of Tanya. Beautiful teaching of Tanya, which the Alter Rebbe in the 17th chapter, which we'll continue next week, comes back to explain why he wrote the Tanya to begin with, on the verse of a pasuk in the Devarim. That's why the Alter Rebbe is going to tell you that being a Jew is as easy as apple pie. It's as easy as anything that you think. It is simple, because don't think that you have to be some kind of great person. Don't think you have to be you have to overcome unbelievable obstacles. You don't at all. You have to do your mission. As a Yid, you have to do your mission. And once you do your mission, it doesn't make a difference where you are, how you are, which emotional state you are, which kind of situation you're in. The mission is the same. And by doing the mission, you should be the happiest Jew in the world to accomplish God's mission in this world. And that's what the Rebbe is going to tell you, that even though you're tzaddik, you're not a person, you're not a tzaddik, you're not even a beinoni, halavai beinoni, but you're doing God's mission. And when you do God's mission, that should give you the ultimate joy in this world.
Mazel tov. Beautiful message.
God bless you all. I wish you all
Thank you so much.
A beautiful day, and I'll see you, Mitchum, next